Hi, everybody. Very excited about your next project. I'm going to go ahead and share with you my PowerPoint with some images. We're going to start with another sculpture project. And there's many different ways to approach sculpture. And, ceramics is a lot like drawing. There's a lot of stories to tell with the medium. There's a lot of imagination and creativity to explore. So the way that we're going to approach this first sculpture assignment is it's going to be pretty free form. You're going to get to do whatever you want, of course, within reason of size. But we're going to look at artists and how they can translate 2D art into 3D ceramic sculpture. And this is how you're going to approach your assignment as well, starting with drawings. So our first artist we're going to look at is Laura Ruckus. Laura Ruckus went to school with me at San Francisco Art Institute, and I'm a big fan of her work. She has a really interesting way of dealing with different materials in her work. So this is like a diorama that is constructed of cardboard, then glued together and then painted. And so she creates these dioramas, these three-dimensional dioramas of these cardboard images, takes pictures of them, and then she'll use oil paint to paint kind of like more of like hyper-realistic cardboard with these common motifs that she uses, which are often like hands with long acrylic nails. There's also like a scenery. She's really into bicycles. And definitely there's a lot of exploration of color. But one thing that's really cool is that her work exists. It's the same kind of, always the same motifs, the same kind of color palette. And there's always sort of this like narrative on her being a femme. And she'll take that cardboard, deconstruct it into dioramas, reconstruct it into oil paintings, and then once again deconstruct it into ceramic work. So this is a ceramic piece. It's very, very flat. Her work is extremely delicate. And she often talks about her artwork often talks a lot about being an artist. So oftentimes she'll have these hands that are painting in her work, and she'll make little videos and stuff too. She does a really good job exploring all these materials, talking about the same thing, which is pretty much like very about her life and what she does on a daily basis. And it's very unique to her. So, like I said, this is a super flat ceramic sculpture. She'll create these plaster molds, and these plaster molds, she then will lay down actual cardboard into the plaster molds, and when they dry, she'll take slabs of clay and press them into the plaster molds so that the clay will have that type of embossed cardboard ribbed texture. And then she'll simply just cut out the shapes that she likes from that and slip and score them together, as well as take time to glaze them as well. So as you can see, she's always wearing a watch. I mean, I know her, so it's really fun when you actually know the artist too. They become such a character to their work and vice versa. But so then this is another one that she did of a rose, and which is also made from the cardboard slab pressed into the cardboard plaster mold, which if I know some of you might not know really that much about mold making, but it's okay. We're gonna cover that a little bit more. And actually plaster is always commonly found in ceramic studios. It's usually there's a plaster tabletop in a ceramic studio where you can reclaim your slip and wedge it back into clay. Plaster absorbs water. So, and then there's also pouring slip into plaster molds is a really common way for producing like mass ceramic work as well. Then plaster also, it can get into your clay and it can make your clay explode. So if you do have any interest at any point working with plaster, please let me know and maybe I can help you work with that a little bit further. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself with that. Let's just look at this rose and how cool it is, and also that really cool like interplay on exploring Laura Ruckus's world of cardboard, her femme motifs, and painting and color as well. And then this is the last piece by her. This is a little nail polish bottle that has her name painted on it here, and is also made with that same cardboard plaster mold with that cardboard rib texture. So there's like a really cool fantasy that's happening, and there's a really cool landscape that's being created. And we're gonna look at another artist, Blue Voltaire. I actually went to school with him too. Maybe this is just kind of like a trend right now in the art world that I really enjoy, but Blue is also a painter and sculptor, and where his worlds are mirror images from like a 2D world to a 3D world. So some of his work can be really illustrative. It's always sort of about pain and masculinity, and there's always like kind of this dark element too. It's kind of funny, dark at the same time. Always has little beer cans in his images, you know, kind of talking about the taboo of drinking and alcohol abuse. And he's also a butcher too, so he really likes to deconstruct the human form as it looks like meat that he works with and packs up and butchers on a daily basis, as he's a butcher for his daily work life and like painter by night. And so then this is just like a really fun, cute ceramic beer can, which I think is throughout all of his work is really comical. I mean, it's obviously like very distorted, maybe too short. The dimensions don't feel like a real beer can. And then also I like how it just says beer on it too. It's kind of like an illustrative approach to capturing a beer can. And then also he makes a lot of ceramic foods because he is working with food for his day job. And so this is a little ceramic sandwich that he made with just slabs, and then simply just cut out the shape, added some texture. There's some texture from canvas, I think, in there. You can see for sure here. I'm not quite sure how he got the texture of this toast, but then like using a tool to compress these little dots into the clay to make it look more like a sandwich meat. It's kind of like another like kind of cartoony, but also it feels real enough to identify with what the object is. And so another artist that's probably maybe more famous or more established is the proper word, is Ken Price. And Ken Price is known for these works that he does, these just like really highly refined, abstracted, whimsical, kind of funky, definitely really funky. I would label this as funky forms. And they go really well, with his paintings. As you can see, he's talking a lot about form and like simplicity in form. And although this is just one solid line here, there's still an echo of like a type of color palette that is being used. And I think it's really cool how Price takes his forms, his ceramic forms, and then gives them a landscape or horizon to exist in within his paintings. So this is another way you can approach the drawing aspect of the beginning of your sculpture assignment, because you're going to need to show me some drawings and sort of that side of you. And you can do it pretty like rendered fairly realistically, or you can think of your drawings that you submit to me in a more painterly way, or suggesting other elements to the ceramic sculpture that you make, such as implementing it in this type of horizon or this type of scenery. So here's another one. I'm not sure, like, the conversation, like what came first, the sculpture or the painting. Not sure if the sculpture comes after the painting or if the painting comes after the sculpture, but the way that you're going to go about your assignment is that you're going to make a two-dimensional piece of art. This can either just be a drawing, or if you have paints or colored pencils or something around, that's really great. You can play with color a little bit, because we don't really have too much of a chance to play with color in this class. So you can show me, I want you to just think for this sculpture assignment, think of what's going on in your drawings or paintings, and then bring an element of that into a three-dimensional life, like Ken Price and all the other artists that we're looking at here. And then here's another artist, Rebecca R. Manson. We already have seen very much how drawing can inform sculpture and sculpture can inform drawing. And really, when you start getting to this practice, it can be quite a back and forth. So I listened to a podcast with Rebecca R. Manson and listened to her talk about her work, and she just has this like poetic a scene that it's kind of is just sort of like haunting her, but not in a bad way, but haunting her more like a subconscious dream. And she just talks about this image of like this dog that she has, or her friend's dog or something, and the dog existing like very happily in nature. And so she's really into these very organic nature motifs, and she's kind of found this like hyper obsession with this dog in her life, the dog's ears. And so it's pretty hard to tell, but in this illustration, these little elements of this tree are actually dog ears. And like I said, it's maybe not super obvious, but then when you look at her ceramic work, it starts to come through a little bit more. So here's another example of a drawing, and they look very, very different from her ceramic works. But there, yeah, the dog once more, and like all these beautiful nature motifs, which then translate into her ceramic work. And so her ceramic work is just like super pristine, super delicate, really nicely glazed, really like just very tiny little leaves and trees. So she's very much into whatever scenario in nature that is just kind of permeates her subconscious. She's always recreating that, even in her drawings and also in her ceramics. And she also had created a mold of the dog's ears. So there's a material called alginate, and it's what the dentist uses to create a mold of like your teeth. So you can use alginate to create molds safely off of humans or animals, I guess, if they'll stay still. And then you can use go through the process of mold making by creating a plaster mold, which then you can use clay to come up with these, to create any sort of shape. So she has these dog ears molds that she incorporates to her tree sculpture. So these are just kind of close-ups of her work. It definitely, I wish I could see it in real life, but the close-ups seem to be a little bit easier to see because there are so many really small components to her work. And then the last artist is Taravat Talipasan, and she is a San Francisco-based artist as well. She is an Iranian woman who explores her culture, also like the way she moves as a female through American culture as an Iranian woman. And she's always exploring like older Persian like tapestries and stuff like that. And she's a really great painter. So I'm pretty sure this is like egg tempera. So she hyper realistically paints with egg tempera, with her common motifs of like her Iranian identity, and has created this like Persian statuette with this like really oversized breasts. And I mean, she's talking a lot about like sexuality and feminine identity, and also like cultural tradition, and also like breaking tradition by taking, this could be like maybe a famous statuette, and then she had implemented these like large breasts on them, which like, talks a lot about just talks a lot about the way people perceive women as this like sexual commodity, as the statuette is a commodity as well. And so this is a painting that she did, and then this is the ceramic object of the ceramic statuette, that is made from a mold, but then broken and glazed really well with airbrush. This is that airbrush glaze, you can get this really nice control. And then also broken. So there's a lot of underlying messages with like a broken ancient statuette that has been like modified. So yeah, there's some good examples of mold making, because in sculpture, ceramic sculpture, mold making tends to occur. But I really want you to have a lot of fun with the first part of the sculpture assignment, which is to do the drawings and or paintings if you have that medium at your house. So yeah, I want you to get really creative, have a lot of fun doing your drawings, like just let your imagination go. And then we can hone in on what's going to be the thing in your drawings that you make into the 3D form, and you can even draw that more and investigate that more. And this is just an exercise to help establish a strong visual language as you are studying art. And that's that.